Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello, hello. We are live. Welcome to For Evan's Sake Daily. My name is Nii Evans.
And I am Nana Evans.
And this is our new show. So at the end of last year, Nana and I decided that we were going to be placing a lot more effort on the Meant to Excel digital channel and creating lots of different type of content for the Meant to Excel digital channel. And one of those things that we did, we decided to set ourselves a 30-day challenge.
Yes.
And we're going to be going live 5 days a week.
We're starting off with a month to start with.
Yeah. So,
5 days a week. We're setting out to go live about 12 p.m. We know it is not 12 p.m. now, but this is our hope. We can stick to going live Monday to Friday, 12 p.m. And we are going to be going through the newspapers in the morning to deliver news to you guys every day that affects pets.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the aim of this show. So our first show today, there was a news story that came out yesterday in the Telegraph, and it is that Rishi Sunak, our lovely Prime Minister, is not going to follow through on one of the best policies that Liz Truss had.
Can we get a moment of silence for Liz Truss, please? Because that happened. That was so quick.
She lasted 6 weeks.
Mate,
the
Liz,
shortest running Prime Minister.
In Liz we trust, or didn't. Never mind.
Then let's not forget our
dear brother Kwazi, my cousin, my cousin Kwazi,
who lasted 4 weeks.
But here's the thing, though. Obviously, those changes that Liz Truss wanted would have been costed in that.
Let me go into what her policy was.
Okay, cool.
So Liz Truss's policy was that she was going forward with childcare provisions because childcare is so expensive. At the moment, you can get 15 hours for free. She was proposing that she wanted to extend it for a further 20 hours. So that would be 35 hours that parents could claim on free childcare for under fours so that more people could go back into the workforce. I think that's one of her best policies and literally think it is actually
I think it's a
policy.
Common sense policy.
You would think so, but Rishi Sunak has decided that he is not going to go forward on this policy and is effectively abandoning it. And so the backbenchers are a bit like, hey, hang on, what is going on here? And the excuse that is being put forward through like back channels is that there aren't the billions to fund this idea. I think that's bullshit.
Well, it is, because we know that and I'm not even just going to say, because I don't think any of these governments are exempt. I think they're two different arms of the same body. But we know that when they want to find money for something that is important to them, they are able to do it. So when the Tories were fighting for power,
mm-hmm.
and they just pulled out a cool 10 billion from their back pocket.
Yes.
But whilst also then saying to the NHS that there's no magic money tree for nurses' pay rises.
But they found money. They found billions to send to Ukraine as well.
Mm-hmm.
Continue to do that.
And then also lest we forget the money that, was being siphoned off during the pandemic through dodgy contracts to friends. So we know that the money is there.
Again, that was billions.
Yeah. And we know the money is there. So then the question that we have to begin to ask ourselves is our government truly for us? Because if they're unable to make good on very simple, as I said, I don't think what Liz was proposing was outrageous. For me, it's a common sense policy.
Well, it's like childcare has gone up by 50% since 2016 as well. So that is so many families are having to choose between somebody working or staying at home and providing childcare for their kids. But if you're saying there is a workforce deficit in the country, which then slows down productivity, should you not be helping out parents so that they can go back to work?
One would think that this would be the straightforward thing to do. But it feels at every turn as a parent that the government that's supposed to be helping you is actually working against you and just making life harder and harder. And so you then have all of that, and then you then throw into the mix the cost of living crisis that we're all going through, gas, electric, prices at the petrol pump. And again, you have to ask yourself, are these people actually for you or not? Like, how are they tangibly actually helping us live better
This is
lives?
it exactly. Because you're placing stress, especially in the early years. It's a stressful time anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not. I'm not even advocating that every parent goes out to work, because sometimes you have the choice to be like, I'm going to bring up my kids and I'm not going to have any outside influences in it and I'm going to stay home. But for the people that do actually want to get back into work or have their own businesses, it would have been really helpful when the boys were younger, that the money that was going from our businesses as we're starting up, if the government was helping us and their childcare, at least half of it was being paid for, that would have been really helpful. We could have grown our businesses faster. That we would have had more money within our households. And then you rely on the government less anyway, because you can build yourself up, you can save more. To me, it just makes sense that you would help parents, especially in the first 5 years, like you would give them that provision. And it should be free.
I think one of the things I've always struggled with, and I think there needs to be some kind of investigation, report, definitely regulation into how much childcare actually costs. Again, because if you, I have a friend, I know she pays close to £1,500.
Yeah.
£1,500 a month
child.
for one child.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's
I know
crazy.
people that don't have mortgages that that cost that much.
Yeah.
And so,
well, imagine if you have both. It's crazy, isn't it? It is flabbergasting. Another thing that Liz Truss actually was going to add in there was the ratio of childminders to kids, because there from both sides, people say that it's too strict and they could look after more children, but why it's so expensive is because the ratio factor. So they need to then employ more nursery nurses to be there with the kids. And so that's why it's so expensive. So again, that was a part of the policy as well. I'm up for trying these things. I actually rate her for putting it forward as something to trial out for maybe 5 years, see how it works. And then we can tweak it as it's going along. Then something needs to change. And the fact that she put that forward, I'm really happy that she put that forward. But obviously, her tenure was only for 6 weeks. And then you get the new one comes in. And obviously, why is he going to care? His family are billionaires. He's probably always had living nannies and everything else. So why is he going to care about our childcare provisions?
And this is probably the thing that I'll never really understand about advocates for this government in particular, Rishi specifically, but the Conservative Party in general, is that most of our leaders, most of the people governing us, have never lived or experienced life as a regular working class person. They've never had to make the decision between between gas or electric. They've never had to make the decision between electric or food. They've never had to worry about a bailiff knocking on their door. So how are these people supposed to understand us? Because they haven't even come from that to say, look, I've been there.
Yeah.
And I've got out of it. And this is how I can lead us all to the promised land. You've never been there. You don't even understand it. You ask, I remember there was a video a while ago of Boris Johnson being quizzed on the price of items in a shop.
Yes,
if you don't even know how much bread baked beans cost.
I mean, why does he need to know that? Because as an MP, most of your stuff is subsidised. So
and then you're claiming it back.
So you'll just claim it back. So he doesn't actually need to factor into his salary anyway.
It's insane.
So, it's a mad one. Okay.
So for me, this is just another reason why I hate to say it. I don't want to sound a bit Andrew Tate-like, but I think Andrew Tate was right in that this country is on a serious decline, and I feel like it may not be the best place to raise our children.
I think so. I think it's something that we should all think about and plan strategically as well, what we're going to do moving forward. All right, what's your next item?
So the next item is the NHS. I should have had his name, but there's a doctor high up in the NHS has said that because of the weakened workforce, they are looking at over 500 deaths a week. And as a parent...
500 extra.
500 extra, yeah. And as a parent who has recently had to call an ambulance for their child, the one thing that I just kept thinking during that time is, I don't want to go to hospital. I don't want to go to hospital, because it was during December. It was not long after the strikes. And it's sadly, it's the absolute last place that you want to be.
Yeah.
And I think, again, it's another example of how our country, I think, is being systematically destroyed, and they are destroying institutions like the NHS, so that eventually it can be privatized and it could be another cash cow for somebody else. And I think this is something that we cannot lose.
The government is definitely putting this in place. The stress on people working there is very evident as well. So again, it kind of reinforces this: you need a workforce, but then you have put in place so many things to gutter the workforce. Brexit, getting a visa, like all of this thing, like having the immigration type arguments and people being really like, take care of our borders. But actually, you need more people to work in this country. So there should be more work visas. Some places they are trying, but at this moment in time, it's like the waiting list on everything to just go into hospital, not even emergency services, just getting service, treating cancers. All of that is being affected. That's really the thing, isn't it? It's because of the waiting list, and they can't actually do operations. There's not enough staff to actually carry out any effective treatments. People are dying while they're waiting. That should not be happening in Britain. It shouldn't be a thing that we are dealing with. And for us to be dealing with this, come on, there's something wrong with the government. They're actually setting us up for this.
And again, when you see all of these things, and for me, it just feels like a fundamental failure in the government. And I don't know how this can be defended, but people will still defend it. And
but then also, what's the solution? Is that like we should all be having private healthcare? Because doesn't that feed into what they're trying to do?
And if there's somebody there in the government that's like the evil genius, their plan is working.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, you're playing with the lives of your children. And as parents, you're like, you will do anything for your children.
And each other. If one of us gets sick and you have to rely on the NHS and you're on a waiting list, then you are going to be like, well, we probably need to seek private healthcare. And then we have to pay for it.
And so
then that's less money that goes on our family.
Yeah. And also, the more people that seek private healthcare, it then bolsters the argument to privatize the NHS.
Yes.
What are we going to do, man?
I mean, if anybody has any solutions, counters to what we're discussing, like let's have a discussion about this. We would love to hear other points of views and suggestions on what we should be talking about as well. That would be helpful. You can do that through our community tabs or on our videos as well, because we're always reading comments all the time. So we appreciate any feedback and information that you want us to share as well.
Absolutely.
So we go through the news so that you don't have to go through the news.
That was so cheesy.
Yeah.
That was so cheesy, but I like it still. But yeah, so that's for heaven's sake, dude.
Yes. So this is our first episode, and watch us as we grow over the next 30 days. So 5 days a week, we will be coming to you.
5 days a week.
At 12 p.m.
12 p.m., half an hour.
Yes. With news that affects parents.
And we'll bring some jokes in there as well.
Yes, of course. So to tell us if there's anything that you've seen in your local area as well that you think is news that doesn't make it to the newspapers and you want us to share that, we will do that as well.
Absolutely.
That will be a great addition. Yeah, some local news. And we're, as we dwell in Newham, London, we will add in some local news as well.
Do the people really want to know what's happening in Newham?
Of course. I've joined a Newham WhatsApp group.
You didn't tell me about this.
I just did it the other day because I wanted to be nosy. It's not popping off or anything, but when things come in that group, I will share it here.
Cool.
Yeah.
Are you on your neighbourhood?
Yes, I am. That's where I got the WhatsApp group from.
Right, okay. Your neighborhood pops off sometimes, though.
Yeah.
People moaning a lot, though. But,
Bagger moaning
yeah.
all the time.
There you go.
But sometimes you do find out stuff that's going on.
I think the premise of your neighborhood is great because it's actually really important to be connected to your people locally. I think one of the frustrations that I had when we first moved in here is that I came from a street where we often joke it was a bit like EastEnders because people really look out for each other.
Yeah, you knew your neighbours.
Yeah, and when we moved in here, it was not like that.
I think that's inner London, and being brought up in inner London, I was very used to not talking to my neighbours. Other than like the people directly beside you, and I guess if you're in a block of flats, maybe there would be like your landing, you may know them, or a few other people, but that is definitely a London thing. Yeah. We're not the most friendliest.
At all.
I know. So,
it's no good.
Yes, but anybody outside of London, let us know what it's like for you guys as well.
Where should we move to?
Let us know where we should move to. Let's see.
Cool.
Let's have a discussion. Yeah.
Right. Well, my name is Nii.
And I'm Nana.
This has been For Evan's Sake Daily, and we will see you tomorrow at 12 right here on Meant to Excel Digital.
Yes. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Peace.